You might think drawing a good face just comes down to talent or years of practice. Or maybe you have been stuck with lopsided features or lifeless expressions, right? No matter how many tutorials you have watched. But there are actually a few simple adjustments you can make that will immediately improve how your faces look on paper. In this video, I'm going to walk you through step-by-step tips that can instantly upgrade your face drawings while also pointing out the biggest mistakes most beginners make without even realizing it.
Okay, with that said, let's jump right in.
Let's be real. Drawing faces can be intimidating. It's not like drawing a random object or a tree, right? Faces are personal, emotional, and we humans are really good at noticing when something's off, especially in the face. You might get the eyes looking great, but then realize they are too far apart, or the lips feel too low, or the nose just doesn't sit right. I used to spend hours on a portrait, only to feel like it didn't look quite right, but I couldn't explain why. That frustration, that disconnect, I know it well. And that's exactly what this video is about, right? How to fix those hidden issues and draw faces with more confidence and structure. Whether you are just starting or feeling stuck at an intermediate level, you are not alone. And trust me, your breakthrough, right, is closer than you think. Okay, so let's start with the foundation, because if the bones of your drawing aren't solid, right, nothing else will be. So trick number 1, using construction lines. These are simple guide marks that help you map out where everything goes on the face before diving into detail. Now imagine you are building a house, right? Would you hang the curtains before putting up walls? No way, right? Same with drawing. You need structure first. So first and foremost, I always begin with the horizontal line. I add this line across the middle, right, for the eyes. Another one about halfway between the eyes and chin for the nose, right, and one more for the lips. These don't need to be perfect, just enough to anchor the features. I'm not drawing eyes just yet, right? I'm just placing them. Think of these lines as invisible scaffolding. And here's the crazy part. Once I started doing this, my portraits improved dramatically. Suddenly, the eyes weren't too high and the nose actually lined up with the lips. It took out, right, so much guesswork. Just bear in mind, guidelines always helps you create that foundation for your work, and it always helps you when it comes to proportions. It doesn't mean that when you put in guidelines you will be an advanced artist overnight. No, that also still requires practice, but it will once again dramatically help you improve your artwork and bring fasting accuracy, right, when it comes to proportions. Now that we have covered the benefits of construction lines on your artwork, let us also cover the consequences of not using construction lines to improve your artwork. So when you start a drawing without construction lines, it becomes so difficult to place each features of the drawing at the right position. Your eyes might look really big, the mouth might look big,
or smaller than what you are actually looking at, proportions are not aligned. So that is why construction lines are really important, because it helps with the alignment of the features. If you want to improve accuracy of your drawing, starting with construction lines is something you need to really put in mind. As you can see, the eyes are not aligned properly, and they are misaligned. So once again, construction lines are really essential. You either use them or use grids when you are starting your drawing or forming your outlines, right? Just to make sure that you improve your accuracy even better. In addition, since I'm not using any construction lines, I'm basing my drawing on guesswork. Placing features at their assumed positions becomes so difficult. It takes a lot of time. And even with all the amount of hours spent on the outline, my drawing never seemed right. So yes, these are the main mistakes that fellow artists face when beginning a drawing. Without construction lines or grids, your proportion will always seem off. So always remember to put on construction lines or grids when you are beginning your work, especially when you want realism.
Alright, so before we move on to the next trick, the second trick, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell so that you won't miss out on what's coming next. I've got tutorials coming, like how to tackle tricky angles, capturing emotional expressions, and fixing mistakes so that you won't have to start over. Alright, let's get going. You've laid the foundation, now let's add the depth to the dimension.
Okay, so now that you have mapped your face, right, let's bring it to life. So trick number 2, we are focusing on shade with layers. Shading is where your portrait goes from cartoon to real. But here's what most people do. They outline everything, then fill in the shadows really dark, really fast. The result, right? Harsh lines, flat skin, and very little realism. Instead, I treat shading like sculpting. I'm not just filling space, I'm building form. And I do that slowly, gently. With a pen, you only get one chance, so start light. Barely touch the page, right? Use soft stroke in the direction the face curves. Think about the cheekbone. Does it go in or out? Follow that shape with your pen. Let your strokes tell the story of the face's structure. Then add a second layer, maybe even a third. The shadows don't come all at once, they develop. So you are building once again. You are not just jumping into shading just like that. You are sculpting. I like to build contrast in key areas, under the eyes, around the nose, below the lips, and along the jaw. That's where, the shadows are naturally stronger. You don't need to shade everything. In fact, leaving some areas lighter creates contrast that makes the face pop even more. And please, don't press too hard. You are not trying to force the ink out. You are inviting it to build. Always remember, building is the key. Have that form of mentality of building your shape. Okay, so now that you're seeing the processes of shading correctly, this is what happens when you do not do it right. Okay, so as you can see on the drawing, right, I didn't go through the right process. I just started with a darker shade, just going through. No, I didn't start with a lighter shade, but just a darker straight ahead. And also did the outline by just
providing the direct label of that outline, right? They didn't shade inside to give it a, how do I say it? Give it a simulation of the outline, but just went directly and draw the outline. So all this, right, gives the drawing more of a cartoonish feel, as you can see here. So this example shows when you do not go through the right process, right? But however, starting immediately with the shading method, right? Remember, you are not just shading, you are building, you are sculpting. So even the highlights are not even displaying really well because I'm just shading, not building. So overall, the approach I'm using for this example is when I see a darker shade, I just put, or when I even see any shade, basically, I just put a darker layer. That's it. When I don't see any shade, I just leave it be, which should not be the right way of realistic shading.
Alright, now let's put it all together. I'm going to walk you through a full face, starting from the other eye, so you can see how it all comes together in real time. So first, I drop my construction lines. I'm measuring with my eyes, checking symmetry, lightly placing the eyes, nose, and mouth. No pressure here, so just laying a roadmap. Once everything is placed, I start shading. I always begin with the eyes, right? They are the window of the portrait. I use short, gentle lines and gradually build around the eyelid, under the brow, and down to the nose bridge. Once again, we are building, we are sculpting, not just shading. With the eyebrows, I build layer by layer, starting lightly and eventually darkening the shape. Then from there, I move across the face in, once again, layers. I build the shadows under the lips, darken the inner cheeks, and carve out the jaw. Every mark is intentional. If something looks off, I don't panic. I adjust, I rebalance, and keep the shading light until I know it's working. That's the benefit of shading lightly. You can always readjust when you make mistakes. If you start darker, you won't be able to do that, especially with pen. And by the end, the result is a face that feels alive with depth, contrast, and structure. Not perfect, but purposeful. And I want you to remember, your before is not a failure, it's a foundation. What matters is not where you start, but how you build. If this video helped you, even a little bit, if something finally clicked or you saw your drawing just start to come alive, do me a favor and hit that like button and drop a comment below saying I'm improving, or even if you have any questions regarding this video, because that tells me you are not just watching, you are growing. I read every single one of your comments and I will really love to answer any questions that you might have. I started this channel to build a community where we push each other, learn together, and stop feeling like we are drawing alone. So if you felt that connection today, stick around. Until next time, take care.